Jordan Wyatt? Is he as good as anybody in the country?
He still has a lot of work to do. He's up there in interceptions, but he still has a long way to go before I give him that tag. But he's playing really well right now, and I'm excited for that because he works as hard as anybody in the country, and so he deserves to be playing well for sure.
I mean, aside from the interception, he was all over his man for most of the game. What do you attribute that to? Is it just because he just knows that position better than his safety?
Well, I think he's probably better suited for a corner. He has worked extremely hard. He worked extremely hard this offseason into the spring as well. And like I continue to say, is that these guys who are experiencing success, it started for them long ago. And it started from their commitment to do the right things long ago. And as a staff, the things that we have emphasized and that we have demanded, and Coach Morris always says, you get what you inspect, not what you expect. And those are some things that, as far as his technique, there's some games earlier in the season, there's some practices earlier in fall camp where his technique does not look as good as it is looking in the games right now. And so Jordan has gone back and looked at his grades that he receives in those scrimmages and those practices and worked on the things that he was not doing as well and pushed himself, to do them better, as well as Horace and some of those other guys. But myself being directly coaching Jordan, as I see it on a daily basis, how he's continued to work to improve the things that he's not done so well.
Another guy that Coach Morris mentioned as playing much better is Zeltminer. What have you seen from him that he's been doing well?
Well, more than anything, Zelt's attitude has changed. And, I think a lot of our guys on defense especially, where you see them playing well, they're older, they're more experienced, and it's just their time to be doing the things that they're doing. And that's what I would say about Zelt, is that he has totally changed his attitude, and he is giving a lot more than he is taking. And I hadn't been with him a lot of time, but when we got here, Zelt was a taker, and he has grown himself into giving. When I say that, I'm talking about on the sidelines, I'm talking about in the locker room, I'm talking about at practice. He is doing more of the things that we talk a lot about Justin Lawler for doing, but you see Zelt doing it. And honestly, when you operate in that way, just like many of the great players that you read about and you hear about, you start to have success. Whereas when you all you do is take, when you only think about yourself, it's really you don't have as much success as you would think when you operate in that way.
Coach, you talked about you guys were able to limit them in the passing game, but they were able to run on you a little bit. You talked about some missing gap assignments. What else did you notice when you watched your film as far as run defense goes?
Well, we missed some tackles, and actually when you count up the missed tackles in this game, they actually happen to be fewer than many of the games that we played. But the tackles happen to be at the wrong time, and they happen to be in space when everyone else was blocked up. Well, the unblocked player misses a tackle. Well, now it's going to go for more yardage, and that's kind of the place we found ourselves in. When previous games we had guys getting off blocks to be able to assist a player who missed a tackle. I think it just came down to that in this game, is that we needed to do a better job of getting off blocks. When you watch the film, a better job of getting off blocks, because in the NFL they miss tackles, but effort to be able to get off blocks, which is something that I think our guys have to continue to do a better job of. And as we go into conference play, we have to continue to do a good job of getting off blocks and making up for the times when someone may miss a tackle.
The last couple of weeks when you've sat here, you've talked about how much improvement you'd seen from Michael Badajoe, and then he didn't play very much in Philadelphia. Is he hurt, or is he slipped in the rotation, or?
Well, I think, we made some changes, moved Justin Lawler over to his position, so then he finds himself in a backup role, and really the purpose was was Temple's offense. You needed a bigger guy. They used tight ends, and their tight ends were a lot more physical, so we wanted to put a bigger guy there. So it's not anything with Badajoe being injured or even not playing well. It was just to get a bigger guy to that position. And he played, but not as much as he played before. And that was more the reason.
Will Lawler now move from side to side from 1 week to the next, or are you moving him there to stay?
Well, he'll move backwards and forwards. And really, because of his experience, he's able to play both. And for that game, his size just gave us a better chance. It just gave us a better chance than Badajoe at that moment. But the fact that he can play both, it gives us the flexibility to be able to do that with him. But you should expect to see Badajoe play, just as much as he's played before.
Is Dimmer Gary kind of forcing his way up in the rotation more?
I think he has. But, since we've been here with him, he's shown flashes of potential. And, you'll hear about some of the other freshmen a lot more than you hear about him. But he uses his hands extremely well, which many of the plays he's made so far this season, you can see him doing that. At practice, he snatches guys off better than a lot of guys. And, for him to have the opportunity to go in and make some plays really off of effort more than anything else is exciting. But he's going to be a really good player for us. And he just, the thing with him is just experience. Because sometimes the mistakes he makes is just because of youth and inexperience. But he's going to be a really good player for us, and we're going to get a lot more reps. Because I've said it before, having the opportunity to play more guys up front really gives you a big-time advantage.
Is it just like some technique things with him?
Well, technique and then assignments, just things that he hadn't seen that cause him to, like I said, he should be going left, but he's going right really fast. But he'll get that as he continues to get more reps.
Getting Darian Malines back this week, did you see any hesitation at all on his part after he'd gotten tossed out the week before?
Not really. And, we would have expected, this would have been his game, and he had a lot of tackles. But, they put him into some situations where he couldn't be as aggressive. They put him into situations where he was away from the scene a little bit and forced Rodney Clemens, who is at a position where that guy is not in the action as much, and Darian is. But I just like I said when you asked me that question before, I didn't see any hesitation from him from a physical state, from the way he plays. But really, they kind of kept him out of it a little bit just by formations and things that they had him do from the offensive sets.
You go from facing a Temple offense that played at a slower pace to Tulsa, plays at a much faster pace. Is that your biggest concern about the Tulsa offense?
Well, I'll tell you what, they do go fast. And, for our guys, the fact that we face our offense, which at times will give us speed, it's going to be a different challenge. And one of the ways we will prepare for it is we'll face our offense, because to go against our offense is very different than a scout team, guys looking at cards. And honestly, when we look at our offense, it's Tulsa. They do a lot of the same things. Sometimes they'll block runs a little bit different, but the speed and the things that they generally do will help our players and give us kind of the same look. So I think that'll be our approach going into this week. The fact that it's a short week, our options are, they're not that vast. So our guys have seen many of the plays that they will attack us with, so that gives us a little bit of comfort. But the speed that they try to attack you with is definitely some concern.
Tulsa's running back, D'Angelo Brewer, has over 500 yards in 4 games and only 4 negative yards all season. What's most effective about him?
I'll tell you what, he's a really good player, and he hits the hole. He hits the hole 100 miles an hour, and you know, for defensive backs, for linebackers, he's on you right now. He makes really good cuts in the hole. His offensive line is playing well. They're throwing the ball well, and that just poses a problem for defenses. Not to mention the fact that the speed of the game, the tempo at which they run at, it also forces you to get lined up, or as soon as you get lined up, or before you get lined up, they're snapping the ball, and he's got it in his hands. So, you know, we're going to have to do a great job of getting lined up, of tackling, and you know, being assignment sound as far as your gap fits, because that's what they do. They get you going one direction, and then all of a sudden he makes a cut, and he's hitting you out the back door. So it's going to be important for us to be able to get lined up, but fit our gaps properly. And then when we are faced with one-on-one tackling situations, we got to get him down. But then, you know, the backside and the pursuit has to do a great job on this defense to be able to get him down.
How much does the speed of the Tulsa offense limit your ability to rotate guys in and out?
That is concerning, but you know, they sub, you know, and when they sub, the officials will hold the ball and give us an opportunity to sub. But you have to be, as a defense, as a play caller, you have to be on your toes to be able to sub guys. And then when you have different packages in the game, nickel packages in the game, you have to have calls and sets to be able to have those guys in the game and to be able to play for that 1 or 2 plays where you can't get them off the field.